Alright, so today I want to show you my lesser clown ball python. Pretty amazing combination. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going through all my snakes, pulling them out one by one, and finally giving them names. This one I've had for 2 years, and it's about time that I finally give her a name. It's kind of crazy. And the cool thing about this snake is I found her over on Morphmarket as a hatchling, and after I found her and was really interested, I realized that the breeder was local, which is pretty wild. I actually drove down, it was only about an hour away, drove down and picked up the snake in person, which is pretty cool. And after I show you the snake and we give it a name, I want to show you kind of what was going on today. I actually went and got some hay for the cows, which is about an hour and a half from my house here in the mountains. And let me tell you, the terrain up here in the mountains of Colorado, it's like a forest up here in the mountains, and then when I drive down to get hay, it transforms into almost like a desert. It is pretty crazy. I actually brought my drone along, got some really cool drone footage of him loading up the hay and some of the changes in the scenery and some of the stuff along the way. I pulled over a few places and actually got some pretty cool drone footage. So let's jump over and check out this lesser clown ball python. Alright, so take a look at this snake. This is a pretty awesome one. This is my lesser clown female. Take a look at that. The clown is a recessive gene, so you need 2 copies of the clown to reproduce it. So if you bred this to a normal, you really couldn't reproduce it unless you bred this to either a het clown or a visual clown. And then the lesser is codominant, which is kind of tricky. So if you bred this to like a bamboo, you could end up with a blue-eyed leucistic, which is an all-white snake with blue eyes. Kind of the bummer with the lesser, because a lot of times, especially if you're shooting for the clowns and you get an all-white snake and you can't see the clown in there, you're talking the difference between, you know, like a $300 snake with a blue-eyed leucistic, where, you know, some of these clown combos can sell for thousands of dollars. Sometimes if you hit the white combo and you actually get a visual clown underneath the white snake, sometimes that can be kind of frustrating, kind of a frustrating part of the project. But take a look at how big and beefy she is. As a matter of fact, I thought she wasn't going to lay any eggs, but now that I pick her up, she feels really super beefy. Like maybe she does have some follicles growing in there. She hasn't eaten for a long time and she feels really big. I haven't weighed her, but she is pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, when she was younger, she was really pounding the rats like no other snake. I think the clowns are really heavy feeders, especially as young snakes and as juveniles. They're kind of like the bamboos where they feed really well compared to some of the other genes. I don't know if it's like certain genes, and you know, I don't really have a collection big enough to where, you know, I have like hundreds of clowns where I can compare, but just with the few clowns that I have, they seem like they all eat really well, which is pretty amazing. And kind of the cool thing about this is if you actually see that she actually has like one little heart pattern like right here on her side, kind of a random anomaly. I know with the bamboos, like on Bobby, you see a whole bunch of hearts. A lot of bamboos have hearts on the side as far as the patterns, and this is, I think it's just like one random heart on her side. I don't think it's really common for the snake. And kind of the weird thing about this is when she was small, she was really super bright and high contrast, and she's really changed from being a super, it's like a bright yellow to kind of a browned out, almost like a change, like, you know, almost as extreme as like a coral glow or something like that. Pretty extreme change as far as her appearance. And take a look at the pattern on her head. That is pretty cool. She's got a really cool head stamp, and that is pretty typical of most clowns. They have some really crazy patterns up on the top of their head. She's a pretty awesome snake, and her belly is pretty clear. Most clowns are pretty clear as far as the belly pattern. I'm really looking forward to breeding this one. She's getting really big. You know, actually, I have that banana inchy clown, and I'm hoping if I can actually get a banana inchy lesser clown, I'll probably hold that one back and keep adding more and more genes to my clown project, which should be pretty cool. I've only been into clowns. As a matter of fact, I haven't actually produced a visual clown yet. It is pretty much a new project. You know, I've only been in ball pythons for 5 years. In the first 2 years, I didn't produce anything. So, you know, this is like my third bunch of hatchlings. So I'm pretty fairly new in the ball python game. You know, it really takes like 10 or 20 years to really get some high-end advanced stuff in your collection. And it's a really long, slow game with ball pythons. She is a really big snake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a name out of the hat here. I have some names in this jar. As a matter of fact, fact, I have a whole bunch of names that I'm working on in a sheet on my, I actually have a spreadsheet in Excel that I'm working on, and I got a whole bunch of names that I pulled from my comments underneath my videos. A lot of people have been suggesting names, which is pretty cool. So in the future, you may see your suggested name on some of these snakes and some of the hatchlings. So this is her new name. This is a good name for her. Her name is Cuddles. So check this out, I found a snake in my bale of hay. Take a look at that, poor little snake. It must have got combined in there and died in the bale. Pretty sad. I don't know what kind of snake that is, but it is definitely petrified. That is crazy.